major regions in the world: Southeast Asia, Middle East, Latin America, India, China, and a bunch of other places. So we're quite global, and we like to make investments. That's what we do.
Christian? My name is Christian. I'm CEO or CMO of Hotel Quickly. We're one of the startups that likes to receive investment.
It's excellent.
So we are, Hotel Quickly is the leading last-minute hotel booking application in Southeast Asia and broader Asia as well. So we're active basically between South Korea and New Zealand in 15 countries. We launched 2 years ago, so we were growing very quickly. We are now 75 people with a head office in Bangkok, headquartered in Hong Kong. We work with 5,000 partner hotels. And we basically sell for these hotels, we sell their investment to investment. So it's mobile application only, mobile first, mobile only, and growing very quickly. So we have about 1 million downloads in these 2 years. Before that, I was at Rocket Internet. Rocket, I don't know who knows Rocket Internet. Okay, if you know. So it's basically, it's a German company. They are building companies on a global scale. They basically look into successful businesses in the US mainly, and then take these concepts and expand them globally. And I started Food Panda, which is a food delivery company. It's also in Kazakhstan. Maybe some of you know. I was the founder in Southeast Asia first, and was global CEO and CTO of Food Panda, and was looking after Southeast Asia and Colombia and my IT team in Portugal. So it's totally quite a bit, and then that's how I came across this last-minute mobile-only hotel booking, and that's how I started. Originally, I'm from Switzerland. I'm now based in Australia, but I spent most of my time the past 3 years in Southeast Asia, so I have a lot of experience.
Jeff?
Hi. So this is my first time to Kazakhstan. It's the only country that most of you actually look like me. So last week I was in Kazan. I told them I'm from Kazakhstan. Everybody believed. And then I cannot speak Russian, and they're like, "Hey, you're from somewhere." So it's extremely interesting. I've been here for like about 24 with companies with an intention to come to Southeast Asia, which is something that we can help you with. So I don't mind investing here, and assuming we have something that makes sense in Southeast Asia. So partly that's one reason why I'm here, looking for good teams and crazy ideas and crazy people. That's what we do every day. We meet crazy people.
That was launched 2 months ago, maybe?
Yeah, Twitter.
Basically, they were launched, and they pretty much took Twitter's API. So when you signed into Meerkat, everyone that you followed on Twitter, you would follow there, and anyone that was on your Twitter feed, had a feed, was live, you would get a notification and all this sort of stuff. So they pretty much took your entire network from Twitter and moved it into Meerkat, so you would be able to see people doing really boring things live. And Twitter saw this very quickly and cut off their entire access to Twitter's API. And that was significant for them because they built everything. A lot of their initial traction and virality came from the fact that they were piggybacking on Twitter's sort of social network. So it made sense because they used that API very smartly in the beginning, and it got them a lot of very initial traction and a lot of growth very quickly. But as soon as Twitter cut them off, they were kind of stuck, and their growth started to sort of decline at that point. It depends how you use it. It depends what you're doing. There's no real straightforward answer to that question. Show me what you're working on, and show me your traction and user growth.
I mean, it's simple. You just ask yourself. Right? Just ask yourself, if this guy switched it off, what would I do? If you don't have an answer, then
Okay, it's a very Socratic method. Anyone else wants to jump in? I have 3 more questions. Okay, let me ask you. Let me grill you forward. The question is, What are the most common mistakes entrepreneurs you've met make over and over again? What people in Kazakhstan, what entrepreneurs in Kazakhstan shouldn't do, essentially?
Don't do a startup, I think that's probably that's a mistake.
So Phil Libin style.
Nah, just you wanna take this as a VC?
Okay, so what I've seen with some of my fellow entrepreneurs is that they're taking too little money for too much equity. And I think initially, as a startup, you might think you need like 50,000 or 100,000 that will give you some lifespan and you can build the initial traction. Maybe it's true, but if you only need 50,000, you probably don't need it at all. And then maybe you can just really get some money from friends, or you just bootstrap a little more, and then you get that initial traction, and then your valuation all of a sudden will be twice as much as when you're raising for 50,000, 100,000. You're not going to build a business with 50 or 100,000 US dollars. It's probably impossible if you want to have a high growth tech startup. You need more money. So be realistic with your goals in terms of funding and your valuation. And don't take money all too early. Build some initial traction first, because then you can justify some higher valuation and you won't risk it.
And I've seen a lot of founders break down because they too much pressure on themselves. So that's another thing. Then the last thing is most ideas suck. So if you can fix it, please fix it. The fastest way to fix it is talk to more people. That's it. Right? In Asia, I know Central Asia probably similar culture as us in Southeast Asia. They tend to not share what they are doing, right? I don't know. So they are working on something. So how are you doing? What are you working on? Then they won't say very much, right? And then how are you doing? I'm good. There's no such thing. Every startup is shit. Every day is like a freaking war battle. There's no such thing as a good day, right? So you're not extremely honest in some sense. So you just need to be a bit more open, a bit more it's a bad day, blah blah blah, blah whatever. Right? I'm working on this. What do you think? Just share it. It will change. I guarantee you. Right? Because what you want is as much feedback as you can in a very short amount of time, so that you don't go down the wrong path. That's what.
So a lot of people now in the past couple of years have been doing startups because they think it's sexy. That should not be the reason to start a startup. And if that is your reason for starting a startup, because you want to be in a startup, you're probably going to fail quite quickly. You're not going to have the motivation to power through the really difficult parts that it will take for you to succeed. A startup is tough. It is the most difficult thing you'll do in your life. You will have the worst moments of your life while you're doing your startup. But you will also have some of the best moments of your life. You will have days where you feel like giving up, and that's really the sort of differentiating factor between founders that are doing it because they love what they're doing and they believe what they're doing is going to succeed, and the founders are just doing it because, it worked in the US, I think it'll work here. It's an okay idea, maybe, I don't know, let's see. So I think the mindset that you come in to doing a startup is very important, because it will be tough. It will not be easy anywhere in the world doing anything. As a startup, it is the most difficult thing that you can ever think of, right? Yeah.
Okay. From the entrepreneurs you've met in your life, who impressed you the most? What traits did they have? Anyone wants to take this? We'll let Jeff to process, and we'll start from Christian.
Well, I think I sort of admire the Summer brothers, Oliver Summer, who started Rocket Internet, because I think even though he's not the most creative, probably he's extremely quick in like grasping a certain situation. So these guys have started from nothing, and the three brothers, and they're now all billionaires. They started with first cloning eBay in Germany. They're now they sold it, and after 6 months for 45 million. Then they started a ringtone provider, sold it after 2 years to Verizon for 240 million. Then they started a Groupon clone, so the Groupon before they went public. So they're like, they see the opportunity and they execute very, very quickly and thoroughly on it. We had this like a monthly call with Oli Summer, and he was basically a whole day was just on the phone, and every half an hour he just stayed on the line, and every half an hour like one startup dropped out, the next one dialed in. And within like a minute, he had to immerse himself in like a new situation. It's like, okay, this is now Indonesia, Lazada, or this is now Dafiti in India, or and get in and then ask like a few questions, and he immediately cuts through the bullshit of the MD who told him, yeah, everything is great and having a good time and they're growing like crazy, and realize what's not great and what's not working, and manage to point it out and really be so on top of everything. It's impressive, and I think being so numbers driven, being so in touch basically with the global markets, very inspiring.
Most impressive founders. Everyone we invest in is impressive. We love all our children equally, but no, like the traits that I find are common amongst the founders that I'm quite passionate about, or that they're passionate about what they're doing, and they love what they're doing, and it's actually contagious. So when I'm sitting with them, I like get sucked into their world. I'm like, wow, okay, yes, okay, tell me more. So that sort of passion for what they're doing is probably a common theme amongst most of the entrepreneurs that sort of I like dealing with. The other common factor is that they can execute and they deliver. They set out, they say we're gonna do this, they do it, and they do it better than what they thought they were gonna do. That impresses me. And that's not common amongst founders. Like actually executing and getting things done and exceeding expectations is very difficult. So be passionate, make me infected with your passion, and let it be contagious, and execute well.
Over-promise and over-deliver at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, so that there are times when I go for dinners with like people, like founders. Some of the time I meet them for the first time, and then within 10 minutes I want to fund them. Sometimes I don't even know what they do. It happens a few times in the last 5 years, but so what typically are the traits? I think first thing is for some reason they're very energetic. Maybe not the entirety, but sometimes one out of two or one out of three. There is energy, there is empathy. They know what the problems are really, really well, which means they really love their product and they love how they're solving the problem. The other trait is they are humble but they listen. No, they're stubborn but they listen. Sorry. So they can kind of like spar with you when you're questioning them. Right? But then when something makes sense, they actually listen and take it. They take notes and try to make things better. And of course, yes, the execution part. They are actually doing things and speed. Right? You can see how fast they do things. That is already, like Hassan says, extremely rare. And the last one is just being a cockroach. We call it, I don't know if you have cockroaches here, but it's always cockroaches don't die. Right? These people just don't die. Right? They run out of money, don't die. They don't make money, they are fine. Right? They figure it out. They're like, there's some way of figuring things out, and then all of a sudden they raise millions as well. These people are extremely infectious. So the don't die mentality is very, very important. And like I told you, in Southeast Asia, I've seen this phenomenon. If you get your motivation right, and if you are the first mover or the second, third mover, means there's a bunch of clones. And then every other country next to you, there are 5 clones, right? If you're motivated and you just don't die, you will be a winner, because most of them are not very motivated. They don't know how to raise money, they don't know how to attract people, but because you're motivated, people are attracted to you. Over time, they will die. you won't die. I've seen this happen before, quite a few times. Right? You're just passionate, and then money will come because you're just like crazy about your product. And then the rest of the guys will be like, I don't want to do B2C, let's do B2B, and then they crash. Right? And then these guys are like, no, B2C is the way to go. Right? 2 years, no sleep, no growth, no money, I don't care. B2C is the way to go. My salary is like $500 a month. I don't care. I sleep in the office, no problem. Right? I eat ramen, whatever. Like year two and a half, you see the thing just yeah. So there are things that sometimes in early stage sort of ecosystems, all you need to do is to believe in what you do and just figure out a way not to die. Right? It's about timing. It's about timing. Sometimes you're too early. That's the nature of things, right? When you launch something that you're passionate about, and then your market's too early, then you just have to wait it out. And waiting out means you don't die. You don't get distracted and do something else. You don't get distracted and shut down and pass it to your brother, and then you go and work for somebody else.
Yeah, so big cockroaches just like Ryan Chesky, Joe Gebbia, Airbnb guys, right? So we will be 15. Okay, please go ahead.
Anyway, this is a question. As for teams in startups, do you have any recommendation on who as minimum should be in the team? For example, at least one tech guy, he should be relates to technology. At least one commercial guy, looks good, sells. As for IT, then it has to be back-end or front-end guy, something like that.
So what's the ideal team?
People who can work together is the ideal team. If you can't work with people, even if they're the best people in the world, that startup is going to fail. But what specific talents you need? You do need a salesperson. You need someone technical and someone on marketing and business sort of side of things. Probably that might be a good team. 2 to 3 people seems to work.
Hassan, so the first sentence in each of your answers makes a great headline. And it's clearly you're good at this. Christian.
Yeah, I think you need to look into like what you're building and what are you personally strong at. So if you're the first one to start the product and look into what does the product need and what are you really strong and passionate about, and then complement yourself with the superstars out there. And as Hassan was saying, you need to be able to work together. So look into your personal network, your trusted circles of friends, and look for that the specific individuals with the traits that you personally don't have. Because then you have somebody you can trust. You're going to work with this person 24 hours a day plus a night. So you need to be able to do this, and you need to complement yourself in order to create a successful startup. So complement yourself. Don't just take your buddy that you always hang out with because he's also a business guy. But look into what you're missing and then complement it.
Yeah.
2 to 3 founders, complementary as you can, and then it depends on what you do. So there's 2 types of businesses. There's product-centric, there's sales-centric. If it's product-centric, you should have more engineers than salespeople. If it's sales-centric, then it's the other way around. So you just have to figure it out, but yeah. So of course, your team needs to work together. Just to let you know, 50% of your co-founders will break up with you. Just so you know. It's one of those things that happens. So picking your co-founders is extremely important.
Anyone else? Please.
So you guys are running venture capital funds and investing in projects. And can you please share some success stories based upon project developing it and exit by IPO? And the second part is, since you have some liabilities in front of investors, how long does it usually take to be involved in one project once your investment horizon?
Yes. Success stories, liquidation events, investment horizon.
So our investment methodology is very different than other venture capital firms. Most venture capital firms will build a concentrated portfolio and spend a lot of time on each of the companies in the portfolio and hope that one of them succeeds big that will cover that sort of whole thing. But the majority of venture capital firms actually don't return capital back to their LPs. Only the top maybe 10% actually generate a return in excess of public. We're quite happy to have $50, $100 million exits, which is the average. So the average acquisition that takes place in the U.S. is at $50 to $100 million. That's essentially it. Once you exceed that, you need to IPO, and that's a much rarer form of exit. Yeah, so that's basically our portfolio and our whole thinking behind how we do our investments.
Jeff?
Okay. So holding period usually 5 to 7 years. So we are operating quite similar to a traditional VC. Do maybe 20 to 25 deals per fund. We are slightly shy of being 3 years old, so we don't have an exit yet. But we have 2 companies that turned down acquisitions, which they could have retired at 26. I don't know what to do when you retire at 26. So they turned it down and said, I got a lot more things to do. Please don't bother me. So we are extremely proud of them. So they're doing well. I think one example probably, I don't know. So there's no access from our point of view, but we have multiple companies that raise multiple rounds. So one example to share is like our first company, maybe. Usually the first company is like, it's like your first love, right? We met them through a hackathon. They built the prototype in 3 months. We said yes straight away. Our first check was there. And then they're like, so how should I raise money in Singapore? I said no, because you are a global from day one company. You raise money here, you're gonna die. So it's like, okay, let's help you raise money in the valley. Right? So what they did was they were in the valley for 3 weeks. So every week they have to change an Airbnb. So they go to Airbnb. 3 founders stay in one room, which is the best part. So 1 week in an apartment, and then they move 3 times. Yeah. And their product is for developers. So hence. Go to where the mecca of developers are. So within 2 weeks, they got a term sheet for $1 million, right? And they were doing customer development all the time, showing their product to developers everywhere. And then I think within a year and a half, they raised another $7 million in the US. So they became a US company with a Singapore R&D office. So they have 2 offices. So the founders, they all left. They all moved to Mountain View. That's one example.
No. So it's very complicated. It's not very complicated, but it'll take a long time to explain all the different stuff. So I'm not going to do that. If you want, go online, and the best one that I've seen was a presentation by Scott Cooper from Andreessen Horowitz. He had interesting stats and figures, numbers, which show you quite clearly that we're still very far away from the bubble that was there during the dot-com boom. I like numbers and figures, that's why I like that theory rather than just talking about why there's not. So go and get the numbers and you'll sort of see it for yourself.
I think the numbers is also the differentiating factor, because in .com there was only a story and a vision, and the valuation was crazy. Now it's still numbers driven, and it's completely different markets. It's 15 years later, and internet penetration, smartphone penetration, everything is very, very different. It's a global market now, which I think the fundamentals are incomparable, and the numbers are incomparable.
I don't know. I think there's not really, because there's some companies that are generating real revenue, right, as opposed to back in the 90s. And you see the famous companies raise a lot of money because they are meant to be category killers. So they're meant to be number 1 in the world. That's why they need so much money. So if you look at that and then look at their revenue, you can kind of tell it's okay. They just need time and and enough sort of gunpowder to sort of get everything executed. But maybe what you might be seeing is too many companies with funny ideas raising too much money. That's probably what you're seeing. Then you get a bit afraid, right? But that's the normal thing, because many startups will fail, many are trying, right? And then many VCs are still around, so they need to deploy money. So, right, so you get to see that. So what I'm more worried about is actually not the US side, it's actually the China side. Okay. So I'm more worried about China as a country collapsing, not China tech collapsing, China country collapsing. Country collapse, tech will collapse. Country collapse, US will collapse, then everything will go to hell. So that's more important to me. So I have to sort of watch the Chinese stuff, more not tech, more like the political side of things and the way they manage the economy. That's more important. But the reality is yes, like for foreign investors coming here first time or the first few deals, they tend to follow a local fund or a local angel. Just to let you know, if you guys want to build your capital vertical here, like your angel, right? The best way is there must be one, and you only need one famous, respectable entrepreneur that either invests his money or he created a fund and he used that fund to invest in you guys, very early stage, at market standard terms, right? Not crazy funny terms. If you have that person, and most of you in this room respect him, you're already starting to move, because we will look to him as well to sort of like follow him. Right? So all you guys need is that person, one guy. Okay? Because in China, the best performing funds in China now are funds linked to founders. Right? The Xiaomi, Xiaomi has a fund set up by Lei Jun, the founder of Xiaomi. Alibaba has a fund set, These funds are the best performing funds in China, not the Sequoia China or not the branded funds. It's because they have the power, right? They have the network, they can help you. They invest early, right? They can get Alibaba to be the customer and then you're set, right? So you just need to find that person here. And then everything will sort of like come into play. No, it's not fine, right? Because to you, it's the same. He asks you, you say it's fine, but both of you look at each other like, yeah, it's not fine. Correct? So founder to founder, there's some kind of a fraternity. You belong to a special kind of thing. And I know you know, okay? You don't have to tell me you know. So get to meet as many friends in as many countries as possible who are founders. Right? That will get you to a little bit of a different bar, because when you're starting to share with them what you're doing, they can tell you things like a brother. Because founding companies are just hard, right? If they can help you, they will help you right away. If you're going the wrong way, they'll tell you, right? If you're charging the wrong kind of price, they'll tell you, because they've seen other people do it, they've seen themselves do it. So I would say make as many friends as you can. Everything else is just execution.
Thank you, it was fun. Let's give a huge round of applause for our guests. See you in the afternoon at the sessions.